Welcome to Rock Your Life with Ari and Alexander. This is your place to be for all things mastering your mindset, diving into your spirituality, getting sexy, and of course, it's me, so we're going to have some fun. And today is all about psychology, physiology, keto, working out, being fabulous, living an awesome life with my great guest, Tara Garrison. Tara, you've probably heard her on her podcast. She has two podcasts that she's the host of. One of them is the Inside Out Health podcast, where she interviews world-class health experts from all over the world. And she's the co-host of the Kick-Ass Life podcast. Of course, I love that name. And that's a mindset podcast for high performers. So she's a master coach in all things for high performers. That includes training, nutrition, biohacking, and mindset coaching. How exciting is this? And her coaching program is called Higher, which I love that. It's a luxury health coaching program. And she works with celebrities, professional athletes, top executives, and people like us, normal people in the world. So, hi, Tara. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, hi. Thank you for having me. So fun. And you're so gorgeous. You're just like enjoyable to look at. Thank you for being beautiful.
You are welcome that you get to look at me for an hour today. That's so sweet. Thank you. You're so cute. Okay, so Tara, we're going to dive into so much of your story in your life. But when I was looking at your bio, because I've known you from Instagram and from your podcasts, and I think you're amazing at what you do, and I love how you coach. But what I did not know is that you are a mom of 4.
Yep.
And you're a young woman. So
yeah, 38.
And you're young, you're a weightlifter, you're a coach. Okay, first question is, how do you do it with 4 kids?
You know what? So I'm divorced and I have my kids 50-50. And I used to be a stay-at-home mom, and I'll share my journey a little bit because I think it's the journey of a woman, especially our age, coming out of kind of the matrix, I think, of just follow all these rules and this is how you do life. But I will say, in some ways, it is difficult, right? Because I'm an entrepreneur, and anybody who's an entrepreneur knows the hustle that goes behind that, right? But because my kids are actually with their dad half of the time, I get a whole week at a time that I can just really go hard. And so then when I have them, I just go really hard with my kids. So in some ways, I'm I kind of have it easier because I don't have them all the time. And that scarcity also makes my time with them so special, So yes, sometimes it's definitely tricky. It's definitely, I spent my whole morning getting my house all cleaned up and ready and organizing kids' clothes and and the whole time I'm man, there's stuff I could be doing for my business right now, but it's nope, I got to do this, So it's just like everything else in life. You adapt and you learn and you get more efficient and, you find your groove. So I love to share though, if there's absolutely no reason that you can't be a mom and also go after your dreams and live the life that you want to. You can make it happen. It's just decisions, right? So I like to exemplify that.
That's just, okay, boom, we're done. There you go. You have it. We're end of conversation because that's all we needed to know. Because it's true, because I see so many women that don't think they can do it, whatever their dreams are, because they have responsibilities with their kids and their family, which I totally get, or maybe they have another job or whatever it is. So I really hear that. And I love people like you that have figured out how to crack the code to be efficient with time and to figure it out. Because I'm single and I don't even have kids and I'm still not efficient with time. So I'm
we're all learning for sure. But I will share this, the limiting thought with being a mom is that I can't do stuff for myself because that would be selfish. I don't want to take time away from my kids. And what I say is, if you can be a little selfish, I tell my clients all the time, I'm be freaking selfish, because when you work on you bring so much joy and energy and value to everyone around you. So when I was a stay-at-home mom and I was feeling resentful, I can't ever do what I want to do. And I just my energy was so low vibe. Is that what you want to bring to your kids? It's just this low vibe, self-sacrificing energy. Because now I truly feel like I am a better mom to them because I'm teaching them these principles for success that I'm learning. And I'm also exemplifying for them what I hope for them. I hope that they go after their dreams. I hope that they prioritize their health and their minds and take time for themselves to go be in nature and not be I can't because I have to do all this stuff for everybody else. I don't want that life for them. So I think it's the lie that we've all been taught, is that I can't do what's right by me because other people need me to do all these. It's like, yes, you can. Yes, you can. And your life will be enriched and your family relationships can be enriched by it because you are a happier person to be around. So I like to spread that message because that is the lie.
Yes.
You can't be happy. It's like, if you want to be happy in all your relationships, you have to be happy.
Yes. Yes. Amen. I love this. I mean, this is so great because it's, and I want to get into your choice points around this because I think that's super important to understand where you came from because it's the moments, it's like, well, let me just ask you in your experience, in your story, where did this shift for you? Like there had to be like a moment or something that happened for you to be so like, yes, game on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So part of the reason fitness is so important to me is because getting in shape was the gateway drug to personal awakening for me. So I was living a very, very disempowered life. I hadn't looked at any of my patterns. I had a bunch of childhood trauma, but everything was fine, right? I hadn't looked at any of it. It was just living in the reactive mind, no personal work at all. And what happened truly was I actually got sick of taking my kids to like the little daycare thing at the gym, right? And I was doing what most women do. I was going to the fitness, drop my kids off in the daycare, go to the little Zumba or, weightlifting class, like go pick them up, drive home. I'm like, this is eating up my whole day with my kids. And so I switched. I got rid of the big fancy gym with the daycare and all of that. And I joined this little tiny gym down the street from me that was $10 a month. And all they had was cardio equipment and weights. There's nothing luxury. So the only time I had to go there was after my kids were in bed because I still had little ones that were keeping me up at night. There's no way I was going to get up crazy early. My husband at the time had to go to work really early. So I was like, the only time I can do it is late at night after I put the kids to bed. So is that awesome for your circadian rhythm? No. But did it work for me? Yeah. Sometimes you just got to do what works. And I started to crave that. It was like my only me time. So I put the kids to bed and I get my little cool music on. I go for like full gangster with my like rap music and have this little time to myself. And pretty soon I started to love weightlifting. I had to learn it. I had no idea. Like people say, I don't know what to do in the gym. And I say, get over it. You can figure it out. Just like you figured out how to cook a meal or drive a car, you can figure out how to lift weights. And I had to out of sheer necessity. There was no other option unless I was just going to run only on the treadmill. So yeah, I asked a friend who was a trainer what to do. She wrote down on a piece of paper for me, like, here's some arm exercises. And I didn't even know what they were called. I was like, arms out to sides, arm out to front. And I brought that little piece of notebook paper with me for 3 months. That is the only thing I did because I was so intimidated at the gym. I'm like, at least this is like something people do at the gym. I mean, that's where I was at, right? And soon I started to get the hang of it and I branched out and I started looking up ideas online and I started trying new things and getting over that hump of being scared to try something new in the gym in front of other people. And pretty soon I got hooked. I started becoming fascinated with the body. 8 months of that, I saw a picture of myself at a family reunion and I looked exactly the same. I was in the gym every night for 8 months. I felt like I was like some sort of bodybuilder, but I hadn't got the nutrition on point. So I looked exactly the same.
Wow.
And when I saw that picture, I was like, like, I know that I have made some gains here. I know that I have sculpted a cool physique underneath this fat that I had. Because after my fourth, I just could not lose the body fat. So that's when I fixed my nutrition. I started eating real foods, very similar to like kind of like a paleo-ish, honestly, just a whole food diet, which was lower carb purely because it wasn't all the processed junk. Started prioritizing protein. My body transformed radically. I don't know what my body fat was, but I assume it was somewhere close to 40%. Within a year and a half, I was down to 11% body fat and totally ripped. And that all came from lifting weights, right? And I did run too, but I actually was running less. I had run marathons before. Running less, lifting more, eating right. Things changed. And what happened was when I started to see what I was capable of in my body, it changed my mind. And I truly feel like I became more intelligent because you do create new neural pathways in your brain when you exercise. I'm feeding my body all these nutrients. All of a sudden, I woke up and I started questioning all these things in my life. And it led me on this path of personal growth and discovery that leads us here today. And I will never stop because it is so fun. I love where I'm at. I'm so grateful for where I'm at. But because I have felt the power of personal growth in my life and putting myself outside of my comfort zone and looking at my own crap and my own patterns and giving myself grace and compassion for them, but choosing to change and do the uncomfortable work of change, it is so unbelievable the life you can live if you're willing to do that. So that's where it all started, honestly, was changing my body. And that's why I love fitness so much, because when our bodies are healthy, we're in these vessels in which we have the energy. We have the energy to change. We have the mental cognitive clarity to be able to change, So yeah, that's where it all started.
Wow. This is great. It's so inspiring to hear you. And I totally get it. Once you start to change that physiology, that everything starts to shift when you eat differently, when you build the muscle, and those are, if you're listening and you haven't done that, it is the key is building that muscle and taking care of your nutrition will change your experience of life. I know from my own experience, very similarly to you, I didn't get down to 11% body fat and get ripped, but there's still time.
No one needs to get that lean.
No one needs to be at 11. Exactly. The wind would blow you over. But so I really, and that just makes so much sense of your coaching program called Higher, of like that it mixes physiology and psychology, because I love how you bring the physiology part into it. It's very, very interesting, and the biohacking and everything. But what I'm curious about is you started doing that. Even in what you did, like you started working out late after your kids went to bed. So that was a choice. And where I see most people get stuck is not making that choice, right? Like knowing, myself included, like I could get up early and work out earlier, but I don't, because I'm like, I like to sleep and it feels good. Blah, blah. So and I don't have kids. Like I say, I don't have kids and stuff. So even with people that have kids or have really, hard, like long hour jobs, how do you help someone make that choice?
Okay. Yes. Let's get into it. So this is where we get more into the emotional side of my journey. I'm not just some superhuman. I'm doing what every other human does. And we are driven to action when our why and our reasons are really powerful. So we are going to do we're never going to do something that we're not getting something out of, right? Mm-hmm. So if you perceive that going to work out, like you're not really going to get that much out of it, what's going to drive you to want to do that when you value sleep, or which I hope you value sleep. Please value sleep.
Everyone values sleep. Yes.
Or you value watching movies at night, or you value, just chilling. Like if you value that more and you feel like you get more out of it, you're going to choose that thing. Mm-hmm. So what happened with me, here's the emotional side of my stimulus. And I like to share this vulnerably and openly because, I think it's relatable. So I'll share. So what caused me to drive from like 40% body fat to 11? Okay. Like there's gotta be a powerful why. It's not just like, oh, this is fun. So I was having marriage problems at the end of my marriage. And based off of those, I was in a terrible place of low self-esteem when this started. Okay. I decided in my mind that I would fix my marriage problems by becoming more attractive for my husband. Right. And so that was the driver. There was this deep emotional being totally real, because this is mm-hmm. the case for so many people, just driven by not enoughness. Right. Mm-hmm. I am currently as I am is not enough. I am unlovable as I am. So I have to do all these things in order to become more lovable. Now, I share that because simultaneously, I was also discovering this deep love for the body and this is cool. Look at all these things my body can do. There's always duality. It's no story is ever just one single story. There's always a million different stories going on at once. And so while I had this unhealthy driver that was driving my actions like crazy, I also had this healthy driver that was also driving my actions, because this is cool. I'm good at this. This is fun. I love this music. I love seeing what I can do. But I'm grateful for the unhealthy driver, because I think sometimes we have these unhealthy drivers as a stimulus to get us on our way and into our purpose. And if we can heal those along the way, well, hey, let's be grateful for all the skills that we learned while we were in that unhealthy stimulus. So I had to go I ended up getting divorced. I left my religion that I was in. I was Mormon, which is a very like all-encompassing religion. That was another thing that I woke up about. I had to walk away from my life as I knew it. I lost every single person that I knew. I had a very vast social network. My ex-husband and I were very social. I was in leadership in the church. And within a 3-month time period, I walked away. I basic internet research found out that the religion was not what I thought it was, could not stand by it anymore, and realized that I was really only in the marriage because of the dogma of religion, and divorce is forbidden. And I was like, wait, that's not even real anymore. I'm getting out of this too. And with 4 kids, I can't even tell you how difficult that decision was.
Oh.
And I was also a stay-at-home mom that entire time. I was a newbie personal trainer when I got divorced, like a part-time personal trainer at a box gym. That is not a lucrative position. And my ex-husband made good money. I was very comfortable. I could have chosen to just stay and just, every fear, thought, and limiting mindset was going through my mind. Like, you can't do this. You can't do this to your kids. You can't do this for yourself. What are you going to do? Like, how are you even going to make it? Right. But I knew deep in my soul, like my intuition is very strong. And it was like, you have to do this. You have to do this. You cannot survive any longer in this life. Like, it was not like I want to, it was like I have to. So I did it. It was a scary journey. Scary, scary, scary. Oh my gosh. I mean, I went to the depths of like financial scariness, like at one point I remember I had $17 to my freaking name. And man, I'm so glad that I did it through a series of just grace from the universe, honestly, of healers and healing opportunities and coaches and mentors. I have been able to heal all those mindsets. And because of that pain that I experienced, I'm grateful for it because now I have empathy. I know what it's like. I know what it's like to feel exasperated and feel like you're not enough and be terrified and like kind of know there's more for you, but you're like so freaking scared to go after it. You don't even know where to start, So I'm grateful that I had that. And I'm so grateful that I was like given these gifts in my path to help me heal, to help me become more empowered, because now I get to share that with people for a freaking living. Like, how lucky am I? But I wouldn't have been able to have any of that if there was no stimulus, if there was no sadness, if there was no difficulty. I'd be like, oh, wow, that sounds really hard what you're going through. Sorry, can't relate,
Yeah.
So I'm grateful for all of it. But yeah, that's kind of the emotional journey that I went on through that whole thing too. And I'm just incredibly grateful for all of it. I think, when we're in it, sometimes it's like, yeah, super grateful that I'm like in hyper adrenaline mode and terrified, like, yay. But man, when you look back on it, if you can lean on your intuition and trust and do what's right by you and do the work on yourself, holy cow, you will find gratitude for all of those struggles later on.
Yeah, it's such a good point because it's, first of all, thanks for sharing your experience. And I love the journey that you've been on, because I can relate too, of those really struggling moments and the financial fear. When you said like you had $17 to your name, and in my story, when I tell people, I'm like, yeah, I remember when I had like minus $62 to my name. It's
right.
and then when it happens, you're so scared and in that panic and the fight or flight's kicking in. But and it's hard to see the other side. Yeah. So what I always feel like with clients is it is really challenging when you're in it. Your mind is in a state of panic. Like you think a lion is chasing you.
Totally.
And you can't get out of that fight or flight. I mean, you can, but until you understand that you're in that fight or flight, you're going to be in the spin and think things, think the shit show is real and it's going to be real forever. Because your mind literally thinks there's a tiger chasing you and you might die.
And it's like you always find a way out. And if you can lean and trust on it, for me, intuition, like go out in nature when you're in that fight or flight mode, like go spend some time in nature, silence, like ask for help out loud, whatever you believe in, even if you don't believe in anything spiritual, like even if you just ask out loud, like you will start getting your own answers or whatever you feel is guiding you. And I think the challenge though, for a lot of us who have been in that place, like that stimulus was really good for us because it taught us like, no one's going to save me. I got to figure things out. I have to become a problem solver. But I think the challenge is later on to allow yourself to come out of that, right? That's another lesson I had to learn down the road is like, I almost became addicted to that fight or flight. Like I was creating situations.
Oh, wow. That's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. To keep that going because I was using it as a driver. And I was so grateful because I just got this like feeling. It was like, sit down and meditate right now. It was like the middle of a day. I just got right down on my freaking bedroom floor and just sat there. It was kind of like message coming in. And it was just this message of, you're safe now. Like you did it. You can breathe. You can relax. You don't have to worry anymore. Now you're like, the message I got was you're on the side of the creators now. You can create with peace and with clarity instead of just whatever I have to do to freaking make it work. Well, like no more of this energy, and I'm grateful that I got that message. I think that's a challenge for a lot of us is to, settle into like, breath
Yeah.
and breathe and know that
Yeah.
we're safe now and we can create with intention, right? So that's a journey I think a lot of us go on. If you're an entrepreneur, like there's going to have to be a point where you kind of take a look at where you're at with your thought processes around success. Because when you started to build it on stress and anxiety and fear, it can be easy to think that that's the only way, but it's definitely not. And I'm grateful that I've learned that.
So good. So good. So good. Okay. We're going to take a little break and we'll be back. And I really want to hear how you work with clients in this area, like when they're in their stuck place and they're in their fight or flight, but we'll be right back. If you're just popping in, this is Rock Your Life with Ari and Alexander. And I'm here with Coach Tara Garrison, and we'll be right back.
Fun for Life Radio. Let the fun begin.
All right, if you have not listened to some of our amazing shows on Fun for Life Radio, I'm going to tell you about a couple that I love. We are so happy to be part of the Dash Radio Network. And on Fun for Life Radio, you can also hear my friend Dana's show, Hollywood Unfiltered, which is a behind the scenes peek at all things Hollywood. He has had this amazing radio show for so long, and he interviews producers, writers, directors, all kinds of people in the business, and really gets a different insider's point of view, which is so fun and so sexy. So definitely check out Hollywood Unfiltered with Dana Buckler. And also my friend Pili Montilla has a fabulous show called Truth and Tunes, where Pili is a cultural music expert. So she interviews musicians, writers, singers, bands, people all over the world for their insight into what they do and why they do it. So again, it's another kind of behind the scenes view of the music industry. So listen to Truth and Tunes with my beloved friend, Pili Montilla. And I'm here with Tara Garrison, and she's the bomb. And we're dishing about psychology and physiology and how to change your life and really rock your dreams. And I'm curious, Tara, let me ask you this first. What do clients usually come to you for? Like, what do they say what's your main client that comes to you?
They always come because they want to change their body, right? They want to lose body fat and build muscle every time. That's why they come. I have a few that are like, I really love all this personal development stuff and I'm super excited about that. Most people don't think they need any mindset work. It's not until you start asking them questions that they're like, oh, I see. I've got some limiting stories here, So we start with they come to me for the body, and it's kind of like you come to me for what you want. I give you what you need.
It's so funny. I always say that about coaching because I've been a life coach and business coach for so long. And I always say that because I go, clients come to me because everyone wants to make more money, right? Everyone wants to make more money. No one's like, I got enough money, I'm good, right? Everyone wants to. So every client comes to me, they want to make more money. And I laugh and I go, okay, like it's a trick. They come to me thinking they're going to make more money and they're like, holy shit, my whole life just changed. And I'm sure it's the same with you, right? They're coming to you to build fat, build muscle and lose fat. And then they're like, holy shit, my life just changed. And it's like, I tricked you.
Right. Every result in your life is a result of how you think.
Yes.
That's it.
Yes. So I love that. So tell me what happens in that process. I'm curious about how, when people come into you and they're coming to you for these health things, but then what's uncovered are the limiting beliefs. So share with me an example of what's a limiting belief that you see a lot of your clients have?
Oh, so I would say for the most part, they judge themselves, right? So the judgment it's like they are pushing themselves down constantly. So all of this negative talk, and they don't think they have it. Some of them are aware and they're like, yeah, I know I'm not very nice to myself. But some of them are like, no, I'm happy. I'm great. And then we get into it and it's like the thought process is, so let's say, for example, you're starting a new nutrition plan but somewhere in you, even if it's just this little 2% thought is, there's no way I'm going to freaking do this. This is not going to work. I know I've tried these things before and it's not going to happen. If that is in there at all, I promise you won't do it. I promise you. Because if the belief isn't there all the way, you're just not going to do it. Like, what was my belief that I was going to come on this interview today? 100%. I was 100% knowing that I was going to come on this interview today. But if there was this part of me that's like, you know what, that might not happen. I might just like not show up. Like, I don't know. Like that's going to completely, why is that thought there? Right. So the biggest thing I see is that we push ourselves down. We put a cap on ourselves and we don't believe in ourselves. So that's like really, truly like when I can help you get into the place where you're like, yes, I know I'm doing this. It's like, do you know you're going to brush your teeth in the morning? Do you know you're going to go to sleep at some point tonight? Yeah, you know that, right? So it's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to get to that place where the belief is 100. Like, yeah, I know that I'm doing this, right? And so the way that we do that is I take them on a 90-day personal development journey. And the very first question I ask them is, who are you? And man, you can tell a lot about where a person's at by the way they answer that question. That's a tough question to answer.
It's a big, like broad, like, whoa, how do I even answer that?
Right. Are you living under the label of your mask that you wear? Are you a mom and a teacher and a sister? Are you an infinite, powerful being? Like you can tell where somebody's at by the way they answer that. And then, wow, we go into all their stories about their relationships and their financial beliefs and just they get to see where their belief systems are. And then they get to question them and they get to say, like, what's another possible version of that story that could be true? And a lot of my work is themed by the work of Byron Katie, because I've been working with one of her facilitators for a long time, Catherine Dixon out here in Utah. She's amazing. So a lot of it is getting into the stories and the stories that we created. Most of them are rooted in childhood, and we don't see how those are infiltrating every area of our lives. So we got to take it way back. What is the story that got created by some trigger, and then we start to change the stories. And that's when people start to get unleashed because they realize that they can choose their own thoughts. Wow. That's a novel thing for most people. They don't realize they're in control of their own thoughts that they allow. It's like boundaries in your own mind. And meditation is part of our practice. We do a morning routine with meditation, and that helps them create that space between stimulus and response that Viktor Frankl talks about. And probably most of you heard that quote. I love it so much. A philosopher inside of a concentration camp. How beautiful. Viktor Frankl, and said that there is in between stimulus and response, there is a space. And in that space lies all of our freedom and power. So true. So true. And so when you can tap into that space and somebody makes you mad and somebody says something that offends you and you see what your trigger is, why are you having that trigger? It's a gift. The trigger is a gift because there's something underneath of it. Why do a bunch of other things not trigger you at all? Because there's no resistance there because you don't have any stories there. So we start to dive into all of these stories that we have and meditate and start to become the observer of our own lives and patterns. And that's when you get the power to be able to change, right? So that's how we do it on the psychological side of things. But on the physiological side of things, this is something I love to spread awareness on too, is because we live in the information age right now. So you can get on Instagram or Facebook or whatever, and you're going to find a million different health professionals telling you a million different things. It is information overload. It is exhausting.
Yes.
It is so confusing. Like I would have hated to have be trying to get healthy right now. I'd be like, I don't know who to believe. This guy says only eat meat. That guy says meat's going to kill me. This guy says only eat plants. He says plants are going to kill me. Wait, what? I don't even know what to do. Somebody show me how it works.
Yeah.
And so I am a believer that all the answers for us are inside us. So I serve as a guide to help you take a look, and we have tools now. So we do things like DNA testing, blood testing, hair mineral analysis, heart rate variability, sleep cycles, so blood sugar testing. So you can actually see what's going on inside you. Because guess what? Like the next person, they might not need vitamin D, but that might change your life. You might need it so bad it will be life-changing for you. So like, let's take a look instead of just guessing. And somebody said I should take X supplement because it's great. Well, do you even need it? But there might be some $10 supplement out there that could change your life. If you don't get folate, if you have the MTHFR gene mutation, for example, and you're eating leafy greens and not getting any folate out of them, and then you start taking an activated folate that goes straight in your blood system, all of a sudden you're not chronic fatigue anymore. Oh my gosh, I just was deficient in folate. So those kind of things. I love to assist in people finding their own answers inside of them.
Well, it's great because it is such a well-rounded approach to the inside out, because I know from my own experience that physiology is so key in keeping the energy up and keeping the thoughts and the depression and because I've experienced massive depression in my life. And I learned a ton from your friend Elle Russ, who you have a podcast with, the Kick-Ass Life podcast. And Elle would always say, you need to get all your thyroid levels checked, because Elle is a thyroid expert. And I remember I still go to all my doctors and do all the blood tests. And I remember one time I was so fatigued, I could not get out of bed. And Elle was like, go get everything checked. She gave me the list of what to get checked. And I was low in iron. And she said, take chelated iron. She told me exactly the, dose to take. And she's like, you should feel better. I mean, my iron was so low, and within 3 days of taking that chelated iron, I felt like a different person. Right. And I was like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, I've been miserable for this long, and I just needed literally a $20 vitamin to help me feel better.
Right. Exactly. You could have been living your whole life like that. Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh. And how can you be in your power? How can you have the energy to do what you're doing? Yeah. I've worked with high performers that are like performing at a high level and they're deficient in something like iron or folate or some of these B12, some of these big hitters. And I'm like, bless your soul for achieving what you did with those. What are you capable of if you have normal energy levels? Holy crap. You're like an amazing person, And so it's like such an honor to be able to give that little boost to people who are already performing at a high levels. But then again, like people who are depressed and anxious, it's like, you don't have in my opinion, it's like, you don't just have a mental health issue, you have a health issue. We forget that a mental health issue is a health issue, and it's like, let's look at your health and see what's actually going on and start giving your body the things it needs so it can heal itself and you can just start going, So I love that. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, for sure. It's, I love this approach that you have to this, to really helping people with that, really that looking at your health overall. I've never met anyone who does that. I mean, I've been a coach for a long time and I have tons of friends who are coaches, but I've never met anyone who does the health piece as well, integrated. And so I think that's so important that you're doing that. And I can't imagine the shifts that you've seen in clients once they get their physiology right.
Real. It's like disempowered and frazzled and down on themselves, and to like, holy cow, watch me world, like just crushing goals. Like it's such an honor. I'm just like, you are such a bad A. Thank you for letting me serve in your journey. Yeah, it's unreal.
Wow, that's so cool. So in your, I also love that you said that you do a lot of the work of Byron Katie to help people with their thoughts. And for anyone listening that doesn't know what the work of Byron Katie is, it's extraordinary. I use it a lot in my coaching practice too. But I'd love for you just to walk us through the questions so anyone listening that doesn't know this work can understand what it is a little bit.
Yeah. So the first question that Byron Katie asks is, you take a stressful thought and you ask, is it true? Right. And so usually, like, if you've been thinking a thought for a long time, you're going to think it's true, So that's you're probably gonna be like, yeah, it's true. But the next question is, can you absolutely know that it's true? And that's when you're like, well, okay. I mean, I guess not. Maybe. There it is. That's it. That is a magic moment when you can start to question your thoughts a little bit. Is a huge pivotal moment. And then the next question is,
I want to pause there because I totally agree. So what I see happens is, so let's say someone has a belief that, I'm just making this up, but let's say a client is like, men always ghost me, like whatever. Men always ghost me. That could be an easy one. Men always ghost me. Yes. And so I'd be like, okay, let's just work on that. Right. Is that true? Yes. They always ghost me. Can you absolutely know that's true? And then this is what always happens. Well, I mean, not all the time, but like most of the time. So yes, it's true. But, and I'm like, slow down. So it's either yes or no. Right. It's either yes or no. So it's either men have ghosted you every moment of your life, of your entire life, or it's not true. Right. It's that point. What I find, everyone wants to take a thought and it's true. It's mostly true, or it's sometimes true, but this happened, and they tell me a story of why it proves it. But again, I'm always like, let's slow down. It's either yes or no. Right. And once you can get to that point of like slowing down within yourself, that meditative state that you come in and you sit and you go, can I absolutely know that's true? And then when that thought, like you say, that moment comes up where someone goes, well, wow, it's actually not. Like, I hadn't really ever thought of it that way. And then it's like, ding, ding, ding. That could change your life right there.
It totally. And then the more you start doing this, it becomes a habit with all sorts of things. And you become a questioner, and you become more of a critical thinker, and you become more open and less judgmental and less stressed. It's amazing. So the next question is, how do you react when you believe that thought? Right? What happens? Right. And the lady that I work with, we go deep. It's 2 hours plus.
Oh my gosh.
We go deep into these. She calls the first part like going to hell because it's like, oh, so this example that you gave, how do you react? Well, like as soon as I can see a guy isn't responding to me quickly, like I instantly go into stress, and I tell myself like, oh, he doesn't like me. I must not be enough for him. Like all these stories. Right. And then the last one is, who would you be without the thought? If it had never, ever even occurred to you ever that men will ghost you, how would you show up with the next guy that you talk to? Right. And then you start to repattern your stories, and you have to answer it, and you have to say, well, I guess I would just like ask more questions. Like if he didn't get back to me, I would not assume that he just didn't like me. I might just text him back and say, hey, what's up? You want to go do something, And so you start to get into what your life could be like without these stressful thoughts and stories. And so, yeah, it's absolutely incredible. Anytime I have a mini version of it that I do with my clients, we call it the map. And so they can go in, and anytime they have a trigger like that. So like maybe your mother-in-law is like, well, that was very interesting choice for you to do, and you're like, mother, you can go in and say like, what was the story? Oh, my mother-in-law is judgmental and doesn't like me. Right. And it's like, what's another possible version of that story? Oh, maybe what I brought up triggered her because she has fear about that. Okay. What's another possible version of this story? Right. And it's like, I don't know. Maybe she grew up in a different time period and she just doesn't understand. And people, so you have to go into these stories, and it just relieves so much stress because you stop taking everything personally and you stop making so many assumptions.
Oh, so, God, right. Yes. Taking things personally and making assumptions that's just where all the judgments get created, or not all, but a lot of judgments get created.
Yeah. And that comes from Don Miguel Ruiz, the 4 agreements. It's like, that's basically where all suffering comes from, is taking things personally and making assumptions. So ask questions, and recognize that other people do things because it's a reflection of where they're at, not necessarily all because of you. We don't have to take that on. If that guy ghosted you, like maybe he just is non-committal. It has nothing to do with you. Maybe he did that to 40 other women.
Yeah, then maybe he's not your guy.
Yeah, like they ghosted you early. Yeah.
It's like, right? It's like, okay. But it's very interesting because how I experienced looking at the stories is it's like watching the movie of your life. Like we think life is the movie. We think that's I'm watching life. I'm like, well, this is the movie.
The only movie.
It's the only movie. It's the one on the screen. So that's the movie. And that's the one I'm going to believe in. And that's the one I'm going to make real. Where really our consciousness is the projector at the back of the theater, projecting the movie onto the screen. Yes. So it's just a projection from my consciousness. Yes. And it's only my point of view. And it's only my story, where every single one of us on the planet has a different point of view. Right. Every one of us has a different point of view on everything. Right. And so it's kind of that, you mentioned this, like observing, like starting to observe the stories instead of believing the story.
Right.
And taking it down the rabbit hole.
And becoming fascinated by the story.
So interesting that guys always ghost me. Let me think about that more and take it down the rabbit hole. It's so fascinating. Yeah.
Right. I wonder what's going on there. Become curious because then it becomes less personal. You become so empowered because you become a problem solver instead of a victim. So healthy.
I want to tie that together. You become a problem solver instead of a victim, because when you start to be an observer of your story instead of being in your story and realizing you can tell a lot of different stories about the same situation. That's when, because you're a victim when you're in the story and you're telling yourself, oh, well, that thing happened because I'm not good enough. Well, I'll never get that thing because I can't do it. Then you're a victim to that story that you're believing in.
Right.
But
Yep.
what you're saying is when you start to question that and observe it and create different stories around whatever it is, then you're empowering yourself of I'm going to choose this story instead of being a victim to the story and knowing it's not real anyway. It's just a story. It's literally like something you're making up all day, every day. We just tell stories all day, every day. So it's, that's the empowerment, is like understanding that you get to create it.
Exactly. And when you're looking at yourself as almost like a third person, it's so much less painful. It's just you can see better. You have a higher vantage point. You're like looking down at it. You're like, and you can see all your own patterns. And there might be some things that I guarantee there's some things you need to adjust if it's causing suffering, right? And it's all from within you. So often we want to control other people. And it's like, he shouldn't do that to me. And it's like, whoa, why are you even here? So you're in some toxic relationship. Why are you in it? Why are you choosing to be in it? You don't have to guilt yourself or shame yourself, but why? What's going on there? What are you getting out of it? Right? It goes back to what we were talking about earlier, is like, we don't do things unless we're getting something out of it. And sometimes this is from Joe Dispenza, we can get addicted to certain emotions and we will find a different person or a different scenario to fill that spot. So we can stay in that emotion of sadness or defeat or abandonment or stress or whatever it is we're addicted to. We'll just keep using somebody over and over and over to fill that same emotion. So again, it all boils back into us. That's why like my podcast is called Inside Out Health. That's why I do all this stuff, because I am truly, like, I just did a photo shoot. I did a bikini competition, which was a crazy experiment. I'm not a bikini competitor, but it was an experiment. And I did a photo shoot just 2 days ago. And I hadn't done a photo shoot with this guy for 4 years. And he's like, he couldn't get over it. He's just like, you are a different human. Like, this is not the same human. That you're not he just kept going. He's like, your whole energy, the way you look, your vibe, everything. You're like, what? You're so confident. Like, who is this person? He couldn't get over it. And that is a result. I was like, thank you. I appreciate you seeing that, but it's a result of doing that inner work. Everything in our life is just a reflection of what's going on inside of us.
Yeah.
That's it. So that's where all the juice is. Go inside. If there's any message I share today, it's please go inside.
I love it.
Go in.
It is the key for sure. We're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back. And if you're listening to us, just joining in, this is Rock Your Life with Ari and Alexander. We are on Fun for Life Radio, and we are so happy to be part of the Dash family. We love Dash. They have great shows, and we'll be right back.
Fun for Life Radio, because there's no fear when you're having fun.
Okay, here we are with Tara Garrison back on Rock Your Life. And you said something that I wanted to touch on, which is this place of going inside. Now, we always hear this, right? Like, just go inside, whatever. But I think there's how do you do that? How do you listen to that intuition? How do you get in touch with that inner voice?
You have to make time for it. You have to create the space. And it's so easy to not want to, because there's so many ways we can distract ourselves. We can just listen to a podcast, or we can just go watch a movie, or we can just scroll social media, or we can just, as soon as the silence comes in, it's like, who can I call? I just want to have a conversation. We can avoid it. And we do so much as a society collectively. It's very tempting. And so what I advise is picking up a meditation practice, 10 minutes. So that in the research, they've shown that what people will actually stick to is 10 minutes a day. And I do it as part of a morning routine. If I don't do it first, if it is not the first thing I do and you have to get out of your bed, don't try that. Like, I'll just lay here. You're going to fall back asleep. Okay. But I like brush my teeth and put my gym clothes on. And then I just sit down. I say, hey, Siri, set a timer for 10 minutes. And I sit my butt down and I just go. And you can use an app like Insight Timer or YouTube or something that has tons of guided meditations too when you first get started, because you're probably not going to be comfortable with silence and you're going to be like, I don't know what I'm doing. How does this even work? But as you get further into it, there's no stress. There's no pressure. There's no outcome to be achieved. You're not going to have, the voice of God is just going to like speak to you the entire time. There's going to be many times nothing happens. And that's challenging for us because we want an outcome every time. But there is something happening. You are training yourself to create space between stimulus and response. You are training yourself to be able to be okay with nothing. And this comes from Napoleon Hill from Think and Grow Rich. He talks about our minds, our brains being both transmitters and receivers. And so when we can turn off and just let go of the active thinking mind for just a little bit, 10 minutes, you have 10 minutes. You're lying to yourself if you think you don't have 10 minutes, and you will lie to yourself. You'll be like, I don't have time for that today, but you do. When you can go into that receiver mode, you're creating that space and you're allowing it in. And any time that I've gotten out of my meditation practice, even for a few days, I can feel that I'm less tapped in. I can feel that I'm less intuitive. And one time I asked, I'm like, how come I don't like feel stuff coming in? And I am instantly heard, because you have to tune in. You have to tune in. And so if you're not comfortable with that, you could do even just try driving in silence or going for a walk outside in silence, but creating some silence for yourself throughout the day. It's like saying like, hey, I'm open. I'm just letting stuff come in. And we did this as children. When you walked around outside, you had literally no agenda. You're just like walking in your yard, like looking for clovers to pick or something, and that's beautiful and natural. And so that's what I say is like, if you want to be able to be tapped in, you have to create space for it, because otherwise we'll just trample right over it all day with all of our active thinking mind.
Yeah. And it's really, it's that white space. I call it that white space, right? Of on your calendar, having some white space for that creativity, for that time for yourself. It's cool that you just say even 10 minutes a day is good. And I love what you said. It's the human form will want to get somewhere, even in meditation. Yeah. Like we want an outcome. So I can totally see that, how people be like, well, I tried meditating, but like nothing happened. Right. I didn't get the aha. I got bored, whatever. Instead of really understanding, it's not about, there's no event in meditation.
Right.
It's the process. It's the journey. And you are doing something. You're nourishing your body. You're nourishing your whole nervous system when you're meditating.
Yeah. And it's about acceptance and awareness. This is something people stress themselves out because they're like, dang it, I started thinking again. I was supposed to not be thinking. Okay, you're gonna think. You're gonna start. You're gonna get caught out. You're not even gonna realize you're doing it. That's what our brains do. So it's gonna happen. And so when you start realizing that you're thinking about something, just become aware. Where does your mind go a lot? What's on your mind? And just say, oh, okay, I'm thinking a lot about my mom, or I'm thinking a lot about that guy, or I'm thinking a lot about my health, like noted. Okay. And then let it go and go back. And then something else is going to come in and you're like, noted. I'm thinking about that, and just let it go. My sister sent me something the other day and she's like, what do you do when you go all the way out to nature and you're trying to meditate and this is happening and there's this crazy noise? And I was like, you accept it. And to actually tune into it, like become it, like fully accept it. Right. And so a lot of meditation is just accepting, allowing, like becoming aware of what is your refrigerator humming? You didn't even notice that before. Like, is your clock ticking? You didn't even notice that before. So it heightens your awareness as well. So that's the biggest thing is I hear people get so stressed. They feel like they're doing it wrong and all of these things. Don't stress yourself out. Just accept and release, accept and release, and just keep doing that for the duration.
Well, that's just such a good flow of not only meditation, but life. Of just, hearing the, sound outside, and instead of getting annoyed by it, inviting it as part of the human experience, inviting it as presence, instead of being like, oh, that thing shouldn't be happening. Because
or your body. The people do this with their body all the time. My stupid knee, my freaking hips, my arm, my stupid shoulder injury. Whoa. How about instead of rejecting it, you tune in and listen and say, like, your shoulder's trying to tell you that it's hurt. And it's trying to tell you that when you do certain things, that hurts it. So how about let's accept that? And maybe we can do it a favor. And instead of rejecting it and insulting it, this body that does so much for us, maybe we can say, hey, oh, I see that you need some help. What can I do for you? Okay, I'm going to go get some soft tissue work and try my best. And how does that help? Does that help? Right? And becoming more loving and accepting of these little cues that are coming in at us. So, yeah.
That's so cool. I'm one of those that's like, oh, my annoying knee, my knee's so annoying, or whatever.
Like it's suffering. It needs your help. It's suffering.
Yeah, it's so true. It's like the bringing the compassion into those complaints about our body or whatever it is. So really, I just hear you hearkening back to that intuition again, like really listening to your body, listening to what you're intuitively led to, and then also using, a meditation practice to calm your mind, to help you be able to create that moment between stimulus and response, so that when things do happen, because they're gonna, right? All day long, there's gonna be stuff that comes in that can either trigger me into fight or flight, or if I've trained myself, I can not go into fight or flight, or I can catch myself. What I do, my therapist taught me this, which was amazing, because I can get so into stress, like in a heart. Like, here's my joke: I say, I live in Los Angeles, and every like holistic practitioner or doctor, anyone I've ever gone to, is like, "What's your stress level?" And I'm like, "High." And they're like, "Why? What's making you stressed?" And I say, I live in Los Angeles. I have to get from point A to point B in Los Angeles. That's stressful enough. And it's a joke, but it's true, because it's like you get in traffic. It's like, oh, for God's sake, seriously, like the 405, we never know if it's going to take like 15 minutes or 5 hours. And so that's my joke. But it's like knowing that about myself, that I can go into stress or fight or flight so quickly. My therapist taught me, she's like, okay, you literally have to look around your room and say, is there a tiger chasing me? And when I do that, it sounds funny, but it's that physiology. My eyes look around at my space and say, there is no tiger chasing me, so therefore I can calm down. And it's learning those things about yourself that do help you, because we're not perfect. We're going to get stressed. We're going to go into fight or flight. We're going to make bad choices. Like, okay, but it's learning that about yourself, what you can do to slow down in those moments.
Right. It's having skills. And I love that example you just gave so much. And I think we're high performers, so we tend to be more on the stress side of things. And the skill that I've learned from meditation of letting go has helped me so much with that, because when I can feel that anxiety building, like I just had caffeine and worked out, so I'm already ramped up. And then all of a sudden it seems like everybody in the planet needs something from me all at once, and I can just feel stress mounting and trying to like do my hair and get on an interview, or and I'm just like, oh my gosh. And I just, the practice that I do is see what the first thought that comes in and let it go. It's like, have to do that for so-and-so, let it go. Have to do that for so-and-so, let it go. I need to write out that program, let it go. This, let it go, let it go. And I just say, let it go. And I go into breath. Breathing is so effective. You actually have parasympathetic nerve receptors in your lower lungs that when you breathe, you literally activate your like deactivate stress, fight or flight mode when you breathe deeply.
Wow, that's so cool.
So take those big breaths as slow and long as you can, and you will literally pull yourself physiologically into that relaxed state. So that's my little hack is, and it's funny when I do it, because it's like, oh girl, no wonder you're stressed. Look how many of these things are flying and you got a lot going, and I get into that compassion. And once I just let them all go and I breathe, now I can like choose calmly which thing to tackle first instead of just being frenzied.
Love it. Oh my God, I love it. This is so good. So many good things you've shared with us today. I'm just loving talking to you. Okay, so you're probably spending most of your time on Instagram, I would assume.
Yeah.
And what's your Instagram?
It's Coach Tara Garrison. So Tara. And I'm on there all the time. I love to share. I would do it for free. I just love sharing anything cool or funny or awesome for health or mindset or whatever. So I'm on there all the time.
Cool. And then, so if anyone's listening and is curious about coaching with you for especially your higher program, which I love that name, where do we get information about that?
Yeah, thank you. Just go to my Instagram profile and you can hit the link in my bio, which is my website, or you can go there directly and it's just taragarrison.com, and everything, all my programs and coaching and everything you'd ever want is on my website.
Cool. Okay, good. Yeah, she's awesome on Instagram. Very fun. And also be sure to listen to her podcast too. So tell us again where the name is your podcast and where we can listen to those.
Yeah, my personal podcast where I interview other experts is Inside Out Health. It says with Coach Tara Garrison. You'll see my picture on there. It's on my website too, linked to that, but it's Inside Out Health Podcast. And then the other one with Elle Russ is Kick Ass Life. That one is so fun. If you like these kind of conversations like we just had, you'll like our Kick Ass Life podcast because it's very similar. And again, we're on all major podcast platforms and video on YouTube for both of those.
Okay, cool. That's great. All right, awesome. So I'm going to do a lightning round with you.
All right.
With some fun questions. what are some of your favorite books that you would recommend to clients?
The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz is fundamental. Mindset by Carol Dweck is a great starter book. One of my most favorite books is Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. It's not just about making money. It's about being an enlightened person and a great thinker. I love Napoleon Hill. I wish he was still alive so I could marry him.
That's funny. Oh my God. Okay, cool. Four Agreements. Yeah, I love all those three too. Four Agreements, Mindset, and Think and Grow Rich. That's awesome. That's really good things. Now, do you watch TV at all? Not really. Yeah, you're just busy. Okay. Then, okay. If you were to give your younger Tara advice, like your 21-year-old Tara advice, what would you say to her?
Just, you're doing a great job. I would just be nice to her. I'd be like, you're doing a great job. Just keep going. Everything's just going up from here. Everything's just going to happen perfectly, just as it should. So just smile and enjoy the ride.
Oh my God, that's so sweet. Just right. Just smile and enjoy the ride.
Yeah, great.
We can get so stressed, but I know when I look back on my younger self, I'm like, it was so easy. Like, what was I so upset about? Like, it's so easy. So I love that. That's so sweet. And tell me what, I'm curious about, since you have 4 children, how old are your kids?
My daughter's 15 and my boys are 13, 10, and 8.
Oh my gosh. So what's one piece of advice like you want that you just are like, I want them to know this?
That I want everything that they choose to do to come from inside them. I talk to them about this all the time. I'm like, take feedback. There's so many, everybody's opinion is so valuable, but it doesn't mean it's right. It just doesn't mean it's right for you. So just make sure that whatever you choose, that it's coming from in here. That's all I want.
Love it. Love it. God, will you be my mom? Can you have a 5th kid?
Sure, we can add one more on.
I mean, I'm older than you. Is that weird? I don't know, but we'll make it work. Okay. Do you have a playlist that you can share on Spotify for like workouts and stuff that you
I need to make one. I get asked all the time because I share my songs and my stories, and people are like, Tara, because I use YouTube Music. So I need to make a Spotify one. This is a stimulus. I will do it. I don't know. I don't even have Spotify.
Wait, how do you listen to music when you're working out?
YouTube Music. I don't like Spotify, but I will do it because so many people want. I tried Spotify. I was like, why? I don't like this. I like YouTube Music personally, but I will make a Spotify list because I seriously get asked that like constantly. If I can share my workout playlist.
I'm sure. Well, yeah, it sounds like you have. So what kind of music do you like to listen to?
Oh my gosh. So I am a beat junkie. So like anything that makes me want to dance, I want to listen to it. And my kids and I, we just dance all the time. We just put anything on Alexa and we just get down all the time. So it could be anything from honestly rap or that kind of stuff to all the way to like a awesome reggae to just more mainstream type stuff. But yeah, I'd say my favorite musical genre is for sure reggae. I'm a big figure fan.
All right, cool. I love it. All right, well, I can't wait for your Spotify playlist then. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for this. Is so fun, Tara. I've learned so much, and I'm just having such a great time talking to you. So I know everyone else listening is too. And go check her out on Instagram and follow her and have some fun, and definitely check out her coaching program. It sounds pretty awesome. So thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. It's been so fun.